On the day I turned 31, my mother-in-law presented me with divorce papers as a birthday gift. "This is from all of us," she declared in front of everyone at the restaurant. My husband had his phone out, recording my expected breakdown for their amusement. I smiled, thanked her graciously, signed every page on the spot, and left. What they didn't know was what I had already set in motion. 3 days before my birthday, I discovered Patricia sitting at our kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents. The moment she noticed me, she hurriedly collected the papers and tucked them into a birthday card envelope. "Just handling some family business," she said, her smile unsettling in its peculiarity. I figured it might be property transfers or insurance forms that Ryan needed to review. The envelope looked cheerful and harmless, decorated with festive patterns. That particular morning, I'd gotten up early to brew coffee before heading to my shift at Bella Vista restaurant. The house was still and quiet, so I hadn't expected to find anyone in the kitchen. Yet there was Patricia, bent over what appeared to be official documentation, reading glasses positioned on her nose as she scrutinized each document with intense focus. Her attention to the papers was almost aggressive, methodical as she scribbled margin notes with a red pen. My footsteps echoing on the hardwood broke her concentration, and she glanced up suddenly. For just a moment, her expression revealed something I'd never witnessed before. Not merely her usual disappointment or disapproval, but genuine pleasure. She moved quickly for someone in her 60s, stacking the documents efficiently and inserting them into what looked like an ordinary greeting card envelope. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said, her tone syrupy sweet in a way that instantly raised my suspicions. Patricia had never addressed me as sweetheart. In fact, she typically avoided saying my name entirely, referring to me as Ryan's wife or simply that girl when speaking to others. This sudden affectionate term felt artificial, as though she was rehearsing it one last time before discarding it permanently. The envelope itself was exquisite, soft pink with silver calligraphy spelling out "Happy Birthday" in flowing letters. Tiny butterflies decorated the borders, and everything about it screamed expensive and considerate. Patricia cradled it carefully, her fingers tracing the edges as if admiring her own taste. "I selected this one especially for you," she commented, studying my face for a reaction. "Before we continue with this remarkable story of betrayal transformed into victory, please subscribe if you believe that hard work deserves dignity, not contempt. Your support enables us to share more stories of women who refuse to be defeated. Now, let's discover how Patricia's cruelty completely backfired on her." I fixed myself coffee and attempted small talk, offering to help with whatever documents she was managing. Patricia's laughter was bright and carefree, nothing like her typical measured tone. "Oh, this is something extraordinary I've been preparing for quite a while now. Ryan isn't even aware of it yet." The mystery intrigued me. Throughout our 2 years of marriage, Patricia had never organized surprises or demonstrated interest in thoughtful gift-giving beyond obligatory occasions. She was efficient and straightforward, not someone who invested time in elaborate presentations or emotional gestures. Her suddenly putting effort into my birthday felt like genuine progress in our challenging relationship. "It's something that will transform everything," she went on, carefully placing the envelope in her handbag. "I've been working with professionals to ensure everything is handled correctly. After all this time, you deserve something significant." Her words sparked unexpected optimism in me. Perhaps Patricia had finally acknowledged my attempts to integrate into their family. Maybe she'd observed how diligently I'd been searching for more prestigious employment. Or possibly she'd recognized how deeply I loved Ryan, despite their relentless criticism. The thought that she might be orchestrating something meaningful for my 31st birthday lifted my spirits more than they'd been in months. Ryan entered the kitchen shortly after, already dressed for the office. He kissed my cheek and grabbed his travel mug, but I caught him exchanging a loaded glance with his mother. They shared some kind of wordless understanding that completely excluded me. When I questioned whether everything was okay, Ryan simply grinned and mentioned they were organizing something special for my birthday. Throughout the remaining days of that week, Patricia's behavior grew increasingly unusual and accommodating. She phoned me twice to confirm my schedule, ensuring I'd be free for dinner on my birthday. She even proposed celebrating at Bella Vista restaurant, which completely stunned me. Patricia had never expressed interest in visiting my workplace, always manufacturing excuses when Ryan suggested we dine there as a family. I think it would be meaningful to celebrate at your workplace, she reasoned during one phone conversation. It's essential that we honor all dimensions of your life. The words sounded compassionate, but something in her inflection made me uneasy. Patricia didn't typically speak in sentimental language or express interest in honoring my life. Her abrupt shift felt orchestrated rather than authentic. Nicole, Ryan's sister, began acting strangely as well. She'd smile cryptically whenever Patricia discussed my birthday arrangements, and she offered to assist with preparations without being prompted. Nicole generally avoided family gatherings that included me, citing work obligations or social commitments. Her eagerness about my birthday dinner seemed questionable, but I suppressed my reservations and decided to focus on their seeming acceptance. Ryan's enthusiasm for the birthday celebration intensified as the week progressed. He'd constantly check his phone, replying to messages with satisfied expressions. When I attempted to glimpse his texts, he'd tilt the screen away playfully, explaining it was surprise material I wasn't permitted to see. His secretive manner seemed affectionate rather than ominous. The evening before my birthday, Patricia called to verify the dinner details one last time. Wear something attractive, she recommended, but nothing overly formal. You'll want to be comfortable for what we've arranged. Her voice carried a note of expectation that I misinterpreted as excitement about properly celebrating me. I devoted extra time selecting my outfit, eventually choosing a navy dress that appeared professional yet friendly. The mirror showed someone desperately trying to prove herself worthy of acceptance, smoothing every crease and examining every aspect. I wanted to look flawless for what I hoped would be our transformative moment as a family. That evening, preparing for bed, Ryan seemed unusually tender. He embraced me tightly and expressed how much he loved me, speaking with an intensity that almost felt like a farewell. "Tomorrow will be a day you'll always remember," he murmured into my hair. I drifted off to sleep, feeling valued and optimistic, completely oblivious that his affection was actually guilt about what awaited me. The decorated envelope remained in Patricia's purse, ready to deliver its crushing message. While I fantasized about finally earning their respect, she was likely rehearsing her speech about family expectations and tough choices. The woman who had smiled so strangely while examining those legal documents was counting the hours until she could publicly destroy me. I awakened on my 31st birthday, convinced it would signify my acceptance into Ryan's family. Instead, it would become the day Patricia handed me the most valuable gift of my existence: freedom from their poisonous judgment and the opportunity to discover my true potential without their constraints limiting me. The first family event after our wedding was Ryan's cousin Brandon's graduation celebration. I invested 2 hours preparing, selecting a modest black dress and understated jewelry, hoping to blend quietly into the family. Patricia welcomed me at the entrance with air kisses that never actually made contact with my skin, then promptly guided me toward a cluster of relatives I'd never encountered. "This is Ryan's wife," she announced to the circle of elegantly dressed women. "She's employed in the service sector." The deliberate pause before those final words was intentional, allowing everyone to absorb her meaning. The phrase hung in the air like an indictment, transforming my occupation at Bella Vista into evidence of unworthiness. Several women exchanged knowing looks, their expressions shifting from polite curiosity to subtle judgment. "How interesting," one woman responded, her tone suggesting it was anything but. "What exactly do you do?" Before I could explain my position managing the restaurant's front-of-house operations, Patricia interrupted smoothly. "She's a waitress at that Italian place downtown. You know, the one with the red checkered tablecloths." Her description deliberately minimized Bella Vista, which was actually a respected establishment known for quality service and authentic cuisine. The dismissive characterization made my workplace sound like a cheap diner rather than the popular restaurant it actually was. Throughout that afternoon, Patricia orchestrated similar moments, introducing me to relatives with descriptions that emphasized my profession while omitting any positive context. She'd mention my work before my name, as if my occupation defined everything about my worth as a person. "Ryan's wife works at a restaurant," became her standard introduction, delivered with the same inflection one might use to describe an embarrassing family secret. The pattern continued at every family gathering that followed. Birthday parties, holiday dinners, casual Sunday brunches. Patricia found ways to spotlight my employment while making it sound inadequate. She'd ask about my shift schedule in front of relatives, highlighting the irregular hours and weekend work that must be so difficult for poor Ryan. Her questions always came wrapped in false sympathy, designed to make others view my job as a burden on their son rather than honest employment. At Ryan's father's retirement party, Patricia gathered a group of his former colleagues and casually mentioned that I'd recently worked a double shift. Can you imagine? 16 hours on your feet, serving tables. I don't know how she manages. Her words carried manufactured concern, but the underlying message was clear. This was not the type of work suitable for someone married into their family. The retired professionals nodded sympathetically, their expressions confirming they understood Patricia's subtle communication about class and status. Nicole reinforced these messages through her own pointed comments. During family dinners at their home, she'd ask detailed questions about my work that seemed innocuous, but were actually designed to highlight differences between our lives. Do you ever get weekends off? She'd inquire sweetly, knowing full well her corporate position guaranteed her Saturday and Sunday freedom. How do you handle rude customers? She'd continue, the question implying my work involved tolerating abuse as a routine requirement. These conversations happened in front of Ryan's extended family, gradually building a narrative about my inadequacy that became accepted truth within their social circle. Nobody questioned whether my work was legitimate or valuable. Patricia's consistent characterization of my employment as something less than respectable became the family's official position. Ryan never defended me during these exchanges. He'd sit quietly, sometimes nodding along with his mother's observations, occasionally adding his own apologetic explanations about my work schedule, conflicting with family events. His silence felt like endorsement of their assessment, communicating that he too viewed my profession as something to be tolerated rather than respected. The criticism extended beyond just mentioning my occupation. Patricia would make subtle comments about my appearance that linked back to my work. You look exhausted, dear. Those long shifts must be taking their toll. The observation would come when I looked perfectly fine, planting suggestions that my employment was physically draining me in ways that diminished my attractiveness. Your hands are so rough lately. All that dishwashing, I suppose. I didn't wash dishes at Bella Vista. My role involved coordinating service and managing customer relations, but Patricia's fictional characterization of my duties continued building the image she wanted others to accept. Family photos became another battleground. Patricia would arrange group pictures, always positioning me at the edges or back rows, while ensuring Nicole and other family members occupied central positions. The visual hierarchy in these photographs reinforced social hierarchies Patricia wanted to establish. During holiday card photo sessions, she'd suddenly remember they needed just immediate family shots after I'd already gotten dressed and prepared. These edited photos would later circulate among their social network, subtly communicating my peripheral status within the family structure. The most painful moments occurred when Patricia praised other women in front of me, using their professional accomplishments as implicit criticism of my choices. Nicole's firm just promoted her to senior analyst. She'd announce at family gatherings, her eyes briefly flickering toward me. Such impressive progress in her field. The unspoken comparison was obvious. Nicole's corporate career represented legitimate achievement, while my restaurant management somehow didn't qualify as real professional success. Ryan's cousin Amanda just made partner at her law firm, Patricia would mention during dinners, her tone reverent with admiration. 32 years old and already a partner. Remarkable dedication. These observations always came when I was present, ensuring I understood the implicit measuring stick against which I was being evaluated and found wanting. Ryan's father, while less overtly critical, participated through passive agreement with Patricia's assessments. He'd nod along with her observations, offering supportive murmurs that validated her positions without directly expressing his own opinions. His silence functioned as approval, creating unified parental disapproval without him having to voice direct criticism. The pressure intensified after our first anniversary. Patricia began suggesting, with increasing frequency, that perhaps I should consider transitioning to something more stable. She'd bring up job listings she'd supposedly seen, always for entry-level office positions that would require abandoning years of restaurant experience I'd built. Administrative assistant positions are quite respectable, she'd mention casually. regular hours, benefits, professional environment. Much better than what you're doing now. Her suggestions ignored that I was already managing staff and operations at Bella Vista, handling responsibilities that exceeded basic administrative tasks. But Patricia's vision of acceptable employment didn't include restaurant work, regardless of the actual duties or skill levels involved. Nicole began sharing social media posts about hustling and building careers that seemed directed at me, though she never tagged me directly. The posts celebrated corporate advancement and professional networking, with captions about choosing paths that lead somewhere meaningful. The passive-aggressive digital messaging created another layer of pressure, suggesting even Ryan's siblings viewed my career choices as misguided or inadequate. Their social media presence projected success narratives that implicitly criticized anyone following different paths. At family events, conversations would naturally drift toward career discussions where I'd be conspicuously excluded. They'd discuss promotions, projects, office politics, and professional development opportunities while I sat silently, my restaurant experience apparently too irrelevant to merit inclusion in these exchanges. When I attempted to contribute experiences from managing Bella Vista's operations, Patricia would redirect the conversation or acknowledge my comments with dismissive pleasantries that shut down further discussion. "That's nice, dear," she'd say with artificial sweetness, then immediately turn to Nicole. "Tell us more about your presentation to the board." The message was unmistakable. My professional experiences didn't warrant the same consideration or respect as those in corporate environments. The constant criticism began affecting my self-perception. I started questioning whether my work really was inadequate, whether Patricia's assessments might be accurate. Her relentless messaging about my employment's unworthiness gradually eroded my confidence in choices I'd previously felt proud about. Ryan's lack of support during these attacks hurt most deeply. He'd watch his mother diminish my profession without defending my work or acknowledging my capabilities. His silence communicated agreement with their assessment, confirming that he too viewed my employment as something disappointing rather than respectable. Sometimes he'd privately apologize after family gatherings, claiming his mother meant well or was just concerned about our future. But these private apologies never translated into public defense when Patricia launched her next subtle attack. His unwillingness to confront his family about their treatment of me spoke volumes about whose opinions mattered most to him. The emotional toll accumulated gradually. Each family dinner chipped away at my self-worth. Each introduced comment about my work reinforced messages about my inadequacy. I began dreading family events, knowing they'd inevitably include moments where Patricia found ways to spotlight my profession as evidence of unworthiness. I started working extra shifts partly to avoid family gatherings, which Patricia then used as further evidence that my employment was consuming my life inappropriately. The situation had become circular. Avoiding their criticism provided them with new material for criticism. Nicole's engagement announcement brought everything to a peak. Her fiancé was a corporate attorney from a prominent family, and Patricia couldn't contain her delight about the appropriate match. The implied contrast to my own marriage to Ryan was obvious in her enthusiastic approval of Nicole's relationship. During the engagement dinner, Patricia gave a toast celebrating Nicole's wise choices and bright future, glancing meaningfully in my direction during specific phrases. The speech ostensibly honored Nicole, but functioned equally as commentary on my own perceived failures and poor decisions. Ryan's toast followed, praising his sister's accomplishments and welcoming her fiancé to the family with warmth he'd never publicly expressed about me at family events. The difference in his enthusiasm about Nicole's relationship versus his restrained acknowledgement of our own marriage felt like another small betrayal. That evening, I realized that no matter what I achieved at Bella Vista, no matter how many hours I worked or how competently I managed my responsibilities, Patricia would never view my profession as legitimate. Her assessment wasn't based on actual evaluation of my work, but on predetermined judgments about acceptable employment for someone married into their family. The recognition should have been liberating, but instead, it felt crushing. I'd spent 2 years attempting to earn respect from people fundamentally unwilling to grant it. Their approval wasn't achievable through better performance or different choices. It simply wasn't available to someone in my profession regardless of individual merit. Still, I continued trying, believing that persistence might eventually break through their resistance. I'd mention promotions or positive customer feedback, hoping to shift their perception incrementally. Patricia would nod politely and change subjects, maintaining her position that restaurant work, regardless of level or success, remained inadequate. The situation might have continued indefinitely had Patricia not decided that removing me from Ryan's life entirely was necessary. Her dissatisfaction with my employment had evolved from criticism into active planning for my elimination from the family. The decorated envelope she prepared so carefully represented the culmination of 2 years of judgment and disapproval. But she'd made one crucial miscalculation in her assessment of my character and capabilities. She'd assumed that someone working in restaurants must lack ambition, intelligence, or options for better opportunities. Her prejudice about service work had blinded her to my actual skills and potential. While Patricia was planning my public humiliation, I was quietly building an escape route she never anticipated or imagined possible for someone she dismissed as a mere waitress. The woman she'd underestimated was about to demonstrate exactly how wrong her judgments had been. My interview at Sterling Heights Hotel happened entirely by accident, or perhaps by fate disguised as coincidence. I'd taken my lunch break at the coffee shop next to the hotel, seeking refuge from a particularly difficult shift at Bella Vista. The restaurant had been understaffed that week, and I'd been covering multiple roles simultaneously, coordinating service, managing complaints, and filling in for absent servers. I was exhausted, sitting alone in the corner of the coffee shop, when Diana Chen approached my table. She introduced herself as the guest services director at Sterling Heights Hotel and apologized for interrupting my lunch. She explained that she'd been observing me during my previous visits to the coffee shop and had been impressed by how I interacted with the baristas and other customers. "You have a natural hospitality presence," Diana said, sliding into the seat across from me. "The way you remembered the barista's name, thanked the cleaner who bumped your table, helped that confused tourist with directions, these aren't common courtesies, they're professional instincts." Her observation surprised me. I'd never considered that basic kindness and attentiveness were special qualities rather than expected behavior. But Diana explained that genuine hospitality involves skills many people lacked, regardless of education or training. "I've been in this industry 20 years, she continued, "and I can recognize natural talent when I see it. You have the kind of service mindset we specifically seek at Sterling Heights." She handed me her business card and asked if I'd ever consider working in hotel hospitality. The question caught me off guard. Sterling Heights Hotel was one of the city's most prestigious establishments, known for luxury accommodations and impeccable service. I'd assumed positions there required degrees and credentials I didn't possess. Diana waved away my concerns about qualifications. "We can teach technical skills and procedures. We can't teach genuine care for guest experience. That's either inherent or it isn't. You clearly have it." She explained that Sterling Heights was expanding their guest services department and seeking coordinators who could handle high-level client relations. The position paid $48,000 annually to start, with full benefits, performance bonuses, and clear advancement tracks. They also offered furnished employee housing for staff who wanted to live on site. The offer seemed too extraordinary to be real. I was earning $32,000 at Bella Vista after years of experience, and Patricia had spent 2 years convincing me that even this was more than I deserved. The thought that someone would offer me nearly 50% more salary plus housing seemed impossible. Diana must have seen the disbelief in my expression because she smiled gently. "Your restaurant experience is exactly what makes you valuable to us. You've been managing complex customer situations, coordinating multiple tasks simultaneously, and maintaining composure under pressure. Those are the exact skills luxury hospitality requires." She invited me to tour the hotel and meet some of the team members. No formal interview, no pressure, just an opportunity to see the environment and decide if the position interested me. I agreed, and we scheduled a visit for my next day off. The tour of Sterling Heights Hotel felt like entering a completely different universe. The marble lobby stretched upward 3 stories, with crystal chandeliers casting elegant light across polished surfaces. Guests moved through the space with the confident ease of people accustomed to luxury, while staff members attended to their needs with practiced efficiency. Diana introduced me to several department supervisors and coordinators, each of whom spoke enthusiastically about their work and the hotel's culture. They asked about my restaurant experience with genuine interest, viewing my background as relevant expertise rather than inadequate credentials. The employee residential building impressed me most significantly. Diana showed me a sample apartment, a furnished studio with modern appliances, comfortable furniture, and a balcony overlooking the city. The monthly housing fee was minimal, deducted directly from paychecks, making it essentially free compared to market rate apartment costs. Many of our staff choose to live on site, Diana explained. It creates community and eliminates commute stress. Plus, the building has a fitness center, shared lounge spaces, and 24-hour security. The opportunity felt surreal. I'd spent 2 years being told that my work was barely respectable, that I should feel grateful Ryan's family tolerated my profession, that I lacked the qualifications for better opportunities. Yet here was someone offering me a position at a luxury hotel, valuing exactly the experience Patricia dismissed as inadequate. Diana didn't pressure me for an immediate decision. She simply said that if I was interested, I should submit a formal application and she'd personally ensure it received proper consideration. The position would involve a probationary period, but if I performed as she expected, it could lead to management track opportunities within the company. I left Sterling Heights Hotel with Diana's business card in my purse and a whirlwind of thoughts in my mind. The opportunity was real. Someone with extensive industry experience had specifically sought me out, recognizing qualities and skills I'd been taught to view as insufficient. For the first time in 2 years, I allowed myself to imagine life beyond Patricia's judgments and Ryan's passive acceptance of his family's treatment. I pictured waking up in that furnished apartment, walking to work without enduring Patricia's morning criticisms, building a career where my efforts were valued rather than merely tolerated. The timing felt significant. My birthday was approaching, the day when families traditionally celebrate and honor their loved ones. If I secured this position before then, I'd be walking into Patricia's planned celebration with genuine achievement to announce, perhaps finally earning the respect I'd been chasing futilely. I spent that evening carefully crafting my application to Sterling Heights Hotel. I detailed my experience at Bella Vista, emphasizing guest relations, conflict resolution, and team coordination skills. I described situations where I transformed angry customers into satisfied ones, managed unexpected crises during service, and trained new employees in hospitality standards. Writing about my accomplishments from a perspective of pride rather than apologetic explanation felt liberating. I wasn't minimizing my work to make others comfortable with my profession. I was presenting my experience as the valuable expertise it actually was. Diana had given me her direct email address rather than routing my application through standard HR channels. I sent the completed application late that evening, then lay awake wondering if I just imagined the entire interaction. People like Patricia had spent so long telling me I was inadequate that accepting someone else's validation felt almost dangerous. Diana's response arrived the next morning. She'd reviewed my application personally and wanted to schedule a formal interview for later that week. She emphasized again that the interview was essentially a formality. She'd already decided I was right for the position based on our previous conversation and what she'd observed at the coffee shop. The formal interview felt more like an orientation session than an evaluation. Diana introduced me to the guest services team, walked me through typical daily responsibilities, and explained the training program all new coordinators completed. She asked a few standard questions about handling difficult situations and working under pressure, but her tone indicated she was confirming what she already believed rather than testing unknown capabilities. At the end of our meeting, Diana offered me the position officially. She handed me a formal offer letter detailing salary, benefits, housing options, and start date possibilities. Everything she'd mentioned during our initial conversation was documented in professional terms that made the opportunity feel concrete and legitimate. "I'd like you to start in 2 weeks if possible," Diana said. "That gives you time to transition from your current position and move into employee housing if you're interested in that option." I accepted immediately, then clarified the start date could be adjusted if needed. Diana smiled knowingly, as though she sensed there was more to my situation than simple job transition logistics. "Whatever timing works for you," she assured me. "This position will be here when you're ready." I requested starting the Monday after my birthday. Diana didn't ask why that specific date mattered, but her expression suggested she understood I had personal reasons for the timing. She adjusted the offer letter accordingly and welcomed me officially to the Sterling Heights Hotel team. Walking out of that final interview, I held documentation that proved everything Patricia had claimed about my inadequacy was wrong. Someone with 2 decades of hospitality industry experience had actively recruited me, offered me substantial salary increase, and expressed confidence in my abilities to succeed at their luxury establishment. The offer letter remained in my purse, hidden carefully where Ryan wouldn't discover it accidentally. I hadn't decided yet whether to tell him about the new position or simply let Patricia's birthday surprise unfold without advance warning about my own plans. Part of me wanted to share my excitement with Ryan, hoping he'd be proud of my achievement and supportive of the opportunity. But 2 years of watching him remain silent during his family's criticism had taught me not to trust his reactions when his mother's opinions might conflict with celebrating my success. I decided to keep the Sterling Heights offer private until after my birthday. If Patricia's mysterious surprise turned out to be genuine celebration and acceptance, I could announce my new position as additional good news to share. If her surprise proved to be something else, some new criticism or demand, I'd have my escape plan already secured. The decorated envelope Patricia had been preparing so carefully sat in her purse, waiting to deliver whatever message she'd been crafting with such satisfaction. Meanwhile, the Sterling Heights Hotel offer letter waited in my own purse, containing possibilities she couldn't imagine for someone she'd dismissed as a mere waitress. The symmetry felt appropriate. While Patricia had been consulting with legal professionals to handle paperwork she thought would destroy me, I'd been connecting with hospitality professionals who recognized my actual value. Her careful planning and my accidental encounter at a coffee shop were both moving toward confrontation on my 31st birthday. I spent those final days before my birthday maintaining normal routines while privately preparing for whatever came next. I gave proper notice to Bella Vista, explaining that I'd accepted a position at Sterling Heights Hotel. My manager was disappointed to lose me, but genuinely happy about my advancement opportunity. She wrote me a glowing reference letter without being asked, praising my work ethic and customer relation skills. The contrast between my manager's supportive reaction and Patricia's constant criticism highlighted how distorted my self-perception had become under 2 years of family judgment. People who actually worked with me recognized my capabilities and valued my contributions. Only Patricia's family viewed my profession as evidence of inadequacy. I packed essential belongings discreetly, moving items to my car that I'd need if I ended up leaving abruptly after my birthday dinner. I opened a separate bank account and transferred money Ryan didn't track. I gathered important documents, birth certificate, social security card, professional certifications, and stored them safely outside our home. These preparations felt simultaneously paranoid and prudent. I didn't know what Patricia's surprise entailed, but her strange behavior and satisfied expression when handling those legal documents suggested something significant. Whatever she planned, I'd be ready to respond on my own terms rather than reacting from a position of vulnerability. Ryan remained oblivious to my preparations, absorbed in his own excitement about the birthday surprise. He'd check his phone constantly, smiling at messages he wouldn't share. His obvious anticipation should have warned me that whatever Patricia had planned wasn't benevolent, but I convinced myself his excitement might actually be genuine enthusiasm about celebrating me properly. The night before my birthday, I triple-checked that everything was in place. My car was packed with essentials. My new bank account was active. The Sterling Heights Hotel offer letter was safely stored where I could access it quickly if needed. I'd even pre-signed the lease termination form for our apartment, leaving it undated in case rapid departure became necessary. Ryan's unusual tenderness that evening almost made me reconsider my preparations. He held me gently, speaking words of love with intensity that felt genuine. But something in his tone reminded me of guilty people seeking forgiveness in advance, easing their consciences before committing acts they knew were wrong. "Tomorrow will be a day you'll always remember," he whispered, exactly as he had in my original timeline. I fell asleep that night knowing he was absolutely right, though not for the reasons he believed. Tomorrow would indeed be unforgettable. The day Patricia's cruel surprise collided with my own carefully prepared response. The decorated envelope and the offer letter would finally meet, revealing which of us had actually understood my worth and potential. The morning of my 31st birthday began with artificial normalcy. Ryan brought me coffee in bed and kissed my forehead with theatrical affection. He reminded me about our dinner reservation at Bella Vista, emphasizing that everyone would be there to celebrate with us. Wear something nice, he suggested, echoing his mother's earlier advice. Tonight's going to be special. I dressed carefully in the navy outfit I'd selected, checking my reflection for any signs of the anxiety churning beneath my composed exterior. The woman in the mirror looked polished and put together, showing no hint of the escape plans and backup strategies prepared for whatever the evening would bring. Throughout the day, my phone buzzed with birthday messages from friends and former co-workers. Nicole sent a text that read simply, "See you tonight," with an emoji that seemed more smug than celebratory. Patricia called to confirm I'd be at the restaurant on time, her voice vibrating with barely contained excitement. I arrived at Bella Vista precisely on schedule, walking into a semi-private dining area where Ryan's family had gathered. The table was decorated with balloons and a small birthday cake, creating an atmosphere of celebration that felt rehearsed rather than spontaneous. Patricia stood at the head of the table wearing an elegant dress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ryan positioned himself nearby with his phone out, ostensibly ready to capture birthday memories. Nicole sat smirking next to her fiancé, looking like someone anticipating entertainment. "There's our birthday girl," Patricia announced as I entered, her voice carrying across the dining area loud enough for surrounding tables to hear. "We have something very special planned for you tonight." My co-workers from Bella Vista watched curiously from their stations, sensing something unusual about the gathering. Several regular customers had positioned themselves where they could observe the family party, perhaps expecting typical birthday celebration dynamics. I took my designated seat, smiling politely while my mind raced through possible scenarios. Patricia's expression reminded me of someone about to deliver a punchline to a joke only she understood. Ryan's phone remained raised, his finger hovering over the record button with obvious anticipation. "Before we order dinner," Patricia continued, her voice taking on formal tones that silenced the table completely, "I want to present you with your birthday gift. This is from all of us. Ryan, Nicole, the entire family. We've put considerable thought into this." She produced a decorated envelope from her designer purse, holding it carefully as though it contained something precious. The pale pink paper with silver lettering looked exactly as it had when I glimpsed it days earlier, festive and innocent in its appearance. "We believe this gift will solve many problems and improve everyone's situation," Patricia said, extending the envelope toward me. "It's something that's been needed for quite some time now." Ryan's phone camera was definitely recording as I accepted the envelope. Nicole leaned forward in her seat, her expression eager. Several family members I barely knew wore expressions ranging from curious to uncomfortable, as though they'd been told something about this moment but weren't entirely comfortable with the plan. I opened the envelope slowly, maintaining outward calm while my heartbeat accelerated. Inside were legal documents, divorce papers, exactly as I'd suspected might be coming based on Patricia's strange behavior and preparation rituals. The papers were professionally prepared, complete with sticky tabs marking where signatures were required. A brief note in Patricia's handwriting read, "This is for the best. You'll understand eventually." "Surprise!" Patricia exclaimed, her voice carrying false cheer that made the words sound like a threat. "We've taken care of everything. The papers are all prepared. You just need to sign, and we can all move forward with our lives." The dining area had gone completely silent. My Bella Vista co-workers had stopped moving, frozen in positions of shocked observation. Surrounding tables full of regular customers stared openly at the scene unfolding before them. Ryan's phone remained steady, capturing my reaction to his mother's carefully orchestrated public humiliation. Nicole wore an expression of satisfaction, apparently pleased with the execution of their family plan. The entire scene had been choreographed to maximize my embarrassment and their entertainment. For just a moment, I let myself feel the full impact of their cruelty. They'd chosen my workplace specifically to ensure maximum audience for my expected breakdown. They'd selected my birthday to make the betrayal as painful as possible. They'd prepared everything carefully, consulting lawyers and coordinating timing, all for the purpose of destroying me publicly. Then I remembered the Sterling Heights Hotel offer letter in my purse. I thought about Diana Chen recognizing my worth when Patricia had spent 2 years denying it. I considered the furnished apartment waiting for me, the $48,000 salary, the career advancement opportunities that existed beyond this family's narrow judgment. "Thank you," I said clearly, my voice steady and calm. "This is actually perfect timing." I pulled a pen from my purse and began signing the divorce papers methodically, working through each marked tab with careful attention. Patricia's satisfied smile began faltering as she processed my unexpected cooperation. Ryan's phone wavered slightly, his recorded narrative apparently not following the script he'd anticipated. "You've saved me considerable trouble," I continued, completing the final signature with a flourish. "I was wondering how to handle this transition efficiently." I set the signed papers on the table and reached back into my purse, retrieving the Sterling Heights Hotel offer letter. I unfolded it deliberately, ensuring Patricia could see the official hotel letterhead and formal language. "Since we're sharing surprises," I said, sliding the offer letter across the table toward Patricia, "I should probably mention that I've accepted a position as guest services coordinator at Sterling Heights Hotel. I start Monday. The position includes a furnished apartment, full benefits, and a salary of $48,000 annually." The number hung in the air like a challenge. Patricia knew exactly how much Ryan earned at his corporate position, approximately $52,000. The realization that her dismissed waitress daughter-in-law had secured compensation nearly matching her son's salary clearly hadn't been part of her planned narrative. "I'd like to thank you," I continued, standing and gathering my belongings, "for making this decision so much easier. Your gift of divorce papers eliminates any complications about leaving this marriage. I genuinely appreciate your efficiency." Nicole's smug expression had completely disappeared, replaced by confused shock. Ryan had lowered his phone, the recording apparently forgotten as he processed the unexpected reversal. Patricia's face had gone through several color changes, settling on an unhealthy shade that suggested genuine surprise. "The timing really is perfect," I added, moving toward the exit. "Monday I start my new position and move into employee housing at Sterling Heights. These signed divorce papers mean I won't need to coordinate moving logistics with Ryan or return to the apartment to collect belongings." I paused at the dining room threshold, turning back to address the table one final time. "I hope you all enjoy the birthday cake. I won't be staying for dinner." The walk out of Bella Vista felt like shedding physical weight with each step. Behind me, the dining area erupted into shocked conversation as family members processed what had just occurred. Patricia's voice rose above the noise, attempting to regain control of the narrative she'd lost completely. My co-workers gave me subtle thumbs up and supportive nods as I passed their stations. Several regular customers who'd witnessed the entire scene offered quiet words of encouragement. The manager mouthed, "Good for you," from behind the host stand. Outside, the evening air felt crisp and clean after the suffocating atmosphere of that dining room. I walked to my car with steady steps, loaded my belongings that I'd prepared in advance, and drove directly to Sterling Heights Hotel. Diana Chen was still in her office despite the late hour, apparently catching up on administrative work. She looked up when I appeared in her doorway, immediately reading something significant in my expression. "I know my official start date isn't until Monday," I said, "but is there any possibility I could move into employee housing tonight? There's been a change in my personal situation that makes immediate relocation preferable." Diana asked no probing questions about my circumstances or the timing of my request. She simply pulled out housing paperwork and began processing my early move-in with efficient professionalism. "Welcome to Sterling Heights," she said, handing me key cards and building access codes. "I think you're going to do very well here." That night, I slept in my furnished studio apartment at Sterling Heights Hotel, surrounded by packed bags and the debris of rapidly dismantled old life. The apartment felt like sanctuary, quiet, clean, and entirely mine without Patricia's judgments or Ryan's passive betrayal contaminating the space. The decorated envelope that Patricia had prepared so carefully had indeed contained a gift, though not the one she'd intended. She'd handed me freedom from toxic relationships and limiting beliefs. She provided legal documentation that severed ties cleanly without prolonged separation logistics. She'd created public spectacle that validated every private doubt I'd harbored about their family's treatment of me. Her cruelty had been so obvious, so deliberately planned, that even family members and restaurant witnesses recognized immediately how wrong their behavior was. Patricia had destroyed any possibility of portraying me as the unreasonable party, or claiming the divorce was anything other than their orchestrated rejection. I spent my actual 31st birthday establishing residence at Sterling Heights Hotel and beginning the orientation process Diana fast-tracked for my situation. The hotel became not just my workplace, but my home, creating community and support structure that replaced the family I'd lost. Ryan's text messages began arriving the next day, growing increasingly desperate as he realized what he'd participated in and what he'd lost. His apologies referenced his mother's influence and claimed he'd been pressured into cooperation. The excuses felt empty after watching him hold that phone camera steady while recording what he'd expected to be my complete humiliation. Patricia's attempts at contact came through Nicole, who sent brief messages suggesting their mother wanted to discuss the situation. The idea that Patricia thought discussion was possible after public divorce paper presentation showed how little she understood about consequences of deliberate cruelty. I blocked all communication from Ryan's family, establishing clear boundaries that protected my fresh start from their continued dysfunction. Diana noticed my relief at being unreachable during work hours and quietly ensured hotel security understood I was not accepting visits from specific individuals. The first few weeks at Sterling Heights Hotel passed in a blur of training sessions, orientation meetings, and settling into new routines. Diana's confidence in my abilities proved warranted as I adapted quickly to luxury hospitality standards and guest services protocols. My restaurant experience translated perfectly to coordinating high-level client needs and managing expectation-rich personalities. The skills Patricia had dismissed as inadequate were exactly what made me excel in my new environment. Everything she'd criticized about my profession became assets in my advancement. Within the first month, I'd received several commendations from guests about exceptional service. Diana shared these compliments during our check-in meetings, clearly pleased that her recruitment instincts about me had been accurate. She began mentioning advancement opportunities and leadership development programs, planting seeds for long-term career growth. The employee residential community provided social connections I'd been lacking during my marriage to Ryan. Other hotel staff members became friends without the complicated dynamics of trying to earn acceptance from people predisposed to judge negatively. Simple activities like group dinners or weekend outings felt refreshingly uncomplicated. I made a point of not discussing my divorce or previous marriage with new colleagues. They knew me only as Sarah, competent coordinator, reliable team member, friendly neighbor. The fresh start meant building identity based on my actual characteristics rather than someone else's preconceived judgments. 2 weeks into my new position, I enrolled in the Sterling Heights Management Training Program Diana had mentioned. The corporate workshops covered topics far beyond my community college coursework, preparing participants for supervisory and executive roles within the company. The training revealed how much potential I possessed that Patricia's constant criticism had convinced me didn't exist. Instructors praised my instincts for guest relations, my ability to analyze operational challenges, and my natural communication skills. Each positive evaluation contradicted years of messaging about my inadequacy. 4 months after signing those divorce papers, I was promoted to Assistant Guest Services Manager. The advancement came with salary increase, pushing my annual compensation above $54,000, officially exceeding Ryan's corporate earnings. Diana presented the promotion during a department meeting, publicly recognizing my rapid advancement and exceptional performance. The management position included office space, expanded responsibilities, and direct reports I'd be supervising. Everything about the role contradicted Patricia's predictions about my career ceiling and limited potential. The woman she'd dismissed as a mere waitress was now managing team operations at a luxury establishment. Word of my success began filtering back through mutual connections who stayed in touch despite the family separation. Susan, one of Patricia's country club friends, happened to book corporate events at Sterling Heights Hotel and specifically requested my coordination services after seeing my name on staff directories. "You're Ryan's ex-wife, correct?" Susan asked during our initial planning meeting, her tone carefully neutral. I confirmed the relationship history briefly, then redirected conversation toward her event needs and preferences. Professional focus on her requirements rather than personal history established boundaries while demonstrating competence. Susan's corporate event exceeded her expectations in execution and outcome. She sent glowing feedback through official hotel channels, praising my attention to detail, responsive communication, and problem solving abilities. Her review specifically mentioned being impressed by my professional development. The feedback reached Patricia through Susan's social network conversations. Having a country club friend specifically praise my management capabilities at a prestigious hotel must have been difficult for Patricia to dismiss or minimize as she'd done with my restaurant work. More connections from Ryan's social circle began appearing at Sterling Heights Hotel events and bookings. Some seemed genuinely curious about my circumstances and progress. Others appeared motivated by opportunity to report back about my situation. I maintained professional courtesy with all, while revealing nothing personal about my divorce or new life. Diana noticed a pattern of familiar names requesting my coordination services and made a point of assigning me high-profile events that showcased my capabilities. She understood without discussion that demonstrating success to people who doubted me held particular satisfaction beyond normal professional achievement. 6 months into my position at Sterling Heights, I was promoted again to full guest services manager. The advancement meant supervising 12 coordinators across multiple departments, making strategic decisions about service protocols, and participating in executive planning meetings. My annual salary reached $60,000 with the management promotion, putting my compensation well above Ryan's corporate earnings and completely contradicting Patricia's narrative about my limited potential. The company car and expense account that accompanied the position added further validation of my professional standing. The hotel's annual recognition ceremony featured me receiving an Excellence Award for outstanding customer satisfaction scores. Standing on stage accepting the award, I thought briefly about Patricia's prayer that Ryan would come to his senses about our marriage. Her prayers had been answered in ways she never intended. Ryan had indeed come to his senses, realizing too late what he'd participated in destroying. But the awakening brought him no benefit since I'd already moved completely beyond their judgment and control. My acceptance speech thanked the team I supervised and acknowledged restaurant experience that had prepared me for hospitality excellence. The audience of hotel executives and business leaders applauded someone Patricia had publicly humiliated for working in food service. Their respect felt earned through demonstrated competence rather than demanded through family obligation. The difference between genuine professional recognition and Patricia's conditional judgment-laden acknowledgement was profound and liberating. Nicole's passive-aggressive social media posts about career ambition and professional success stopped entirely after my management promotion announcements began appearing in local business publications. Her previous commentary about choosing meaningful career paths seemed ridiculous when directed at someone achieving measurable advancement through determination and skill. Ryan's LinkedIn connection request arrived the same week as my manager promotion, suggesting he'd been tracking my professional growth through mutual business contacts. His attempt to reconnect professionally felt transparent and pathetic. The man who'd recorded my expected humiliation now wanted association with my actual achievements. I declined his connection request without comment. Whatever curiosity or regret motivated his outreach was irrelevant to my current life. He'd made his choices when his mother handed me divorce papers, and he'd stood filming instead of defending. Those decisions had consequences that included permanent disconnection from my success story. The greatest satisfaction came from living fully without needing their approval or recognition. My happiness was self-contained and authentic, built on genuine accomplishments and healthy relationships, rather than desperate attempts to earn acceptance from people incapable of granting it. Diana became more than my supervisor. She became a mentor who saw leadership potential Patricia had spent 2 years convincing me didn't exist. Colleagues at Sterling Heights respected my professional judgment and valued my contributions. The work environment Patricia claimed I could never access had welcomed me warmly and rewarded my efforts. Every day at Sterling Heights Hotel confirmed that Patricia's assessment of my potential had been completely wrong. Her need to diminish me had revealed more about her own insecurities and limitations than about my actual capabilities. Her judgment had been rooted in class prejudice and personal insecurity rather than accurate evaluation. The ultimate victory wasn't causing them pain or seeking revenge. It was proving their cruelty had been based on fear and jealousy rather than reality. Patricia's need to destroy me publicly had stemmed from recognition that I possessed qualities she couldn't control or diminish through normal family dynamics. Her birthday gift of divorce papers had freed me to discover success that existed far beyond her narrow vision of acceptable achievement. The decorated envelope had contained the greatest gift possible: liberation from people who'd never deserved the effort I'd spent trying to earn their love. Standing in my corner office 18 months after that night at Bella Vista, I looked out at the city skyline and felt grateful for every criticism that had pushed me toward independence. Patricia's carefully prepared presentation had given me exactly what I needed: freedom to become someone beyond their judgment's reach. The woman she'd dismissed as a mere waitress had built a career that exceeded her son's earnings and earned respect from business communities she'd claimed were inaccessible to someone from my background. Every milestone validated Diana's initial recognition of my potential and contradicted Patricia's confident predictions about my limitations. If this story of ultimate vindication inspired you, please like and subscribe to support more content. What was your favorite moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't miss similar stories. Subscribe and enable notifications for all our uploads.